Things started. So good afternoon. I'm Kelly Phillips, and I'm the program director here at TechConnects, and we're a not-for-profit association currently in our 42nd year of operation. TechConnects is the leader in peer-to-peer programming, and we run a series of peer groups every month with a strong focus on personal, professional, and business growth. And our programs provide an excellent venue for education, knowledge transfer, and an opportunity to connect with your peers, potential clients, and partners. Our sessions are where people can connect with other business leaders, share best practices and business insights, learn from others who might have or are experiencing similar challenges as yourself. If you are not a TechConnects member, you can reach out to myself. You can attend a complimentary peer group and be part of a community that empowers you to thrive both personally and professionally. We're currently working on an additional Lunch and Learn, and that's going to be taking place on June the 12th, and it's on behavioral science. Information will be up shortly, and it's how you use it to improve business and policy and human outcomes. So if you're available, we'd love to see you there. But with that, thank you for joining us today at our Recruitment Tech to Improve Hiring Success session. And it's jointly hosted with the City of Richmond Hill, a key partner of TechConnects and the home of leading technology companies. And thank you to Brenda Osler for helping me put this together. To start things off, the cost of hiring an employee goes far beyond just paying for their salary to encompass recruiting, training, benefits, and much more. And it can actually take up to 6 months for a company to break even its investment on a new hire. On the flip side, when you find yourself out of a job and looking for one or looking for a new one, it can be one of the harder things we go through. And finding the right job in a timely fashion can also be difficult. So from all perspectives, it's really important that for both employers and job seekers to get it right and to get it right the first time. What we're also seeing is technology making an impact on many different industries. And with that, they're helping to streamline processes and improve efficiencies. So just as in other fields, technology has been helping employers find the right people and connect job seekers with the right jobs. Today, we are fortunate to have Marc Belaiche, and he is the co-founder of Khanduja and TorontoJobs.ca. They're Canada's largest hiring platform. We have Meetu Khanduja. She's the marketing director at emergiTEL, and they're a recruitment agency. And Sischa Maharaj, she's the senior consultant and business development at Devant, and they're an organization that helps international students and new immigrants work, stay, and succeed in Canada. As well, she's the head of business development at Kibby Technologies, Inc., and they're a mobile app and an online job board to share their insights, and they work hand in hand with Devant. So how we'll go through this is if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We're also going to leave time for Q&A at the very end of everything. And we'll try to get through everything. I know we have both sides of things, both people that are looking for jobs and people are trying to understand it from an employer side of things. So to kick things off, I'm going to ask, and we'll start, Sischa, I'll start with you, but I want to know if you can discuss some specific examples of how recruitment technologies have streamlined processes and improved efficiencies for both employers or job seekers. And also at the same time, feel free to share some insights into the technologies or programs your organization has developed or is using to enhance the candidate sourcing, screening, and matching. So Sischa, we'll start with you.
Thank you so much, Kelly, for inviting us to participate in this important conversation today. There is so much I'm really excited to share with everyone. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So in particular, for this question, I'd like to really share about how Kibby Technologies and Devant have joined forces to revolutionize candidate sourcing, screening, and candidate matching to fill local jobs with the right talent. So I can give you some specific examples through Kibby, which is a free mobile app. We actually have the only map-based multilingual mobile app that makes it easier for employers of any size to openly advertise their jobs at scale to diverse pools of newcomers and international students, as well as remote communities. So some of the AI functions that are really useful to help recruitment is specifically around, I would say, attraction and sourcing up to the shortlisting process. This is where it really makes a difference. So for example, using AI, recruiters can draft compelling job descriptions in seconds. And while they post it through the mobile app, it's instantly available to all the candidates that are in the app. And it also has basically an auto matching and notification, so that if you're in that local area or if you match that opportunity, you're instantly notified. So this actually helps connecting the demand and supply of talent instantly on mobile. Another feature which actually removes the barriers of language, it also translates in up to 17 different languages. So what it helps recruiters in this way is you can actually translate your job to get access to candidates who speak another language. And we're actually working on even looking at some Indigenous languages coming forward as well as a new opportunity to reach those rural Indigenous communities. And then in terms of push notifications and matching, there's a lot that's coming out and that's being improved. So as we have more employers on and as we have more candidates, the matching process will get better and better. So in terms of streamlining, these are some of the things that are happening through the Kibi mobile app, which is free for employers and for job seekers. And through Devant, I'm really excited to share, we actually host a biannual Get Hired at Home event. And we invested in an amazing tool that made interview scheduling much easier, helped recruiters to pre-screen candidates, interview candidates. And what I found amazing, because I sat in a recruiter's position many years ago, what I found amazing was the tool saved time in not just the scheduling of candidates and pre-screening, but afterward, the candidate actually has an opportunity to give permission to record the video. And with the AI tool, it actually summarized the interview for the recruiter. It offered strengths, weaknesses, or areas to develop, as well as a summary. And, looking from my background in terms of how do we eliminate bias, unconscious bias, and improve inclusion throughout the entire process, I remember doing 7 interviews a day, and I found it very helpful to go back, to the recording, back to the notes, to give sort of a, another view in the room with the recruiter. So I thought that would be very helpful, sitting in a recruiter's seat to review the 7 interviews for the day, but also to take a look at having another viewpoint. Again, we have to remember that, you still need to have the human judgment and human analysis, but this was very useful. For the Get Hired at Home event that was organized by Devant for free, we actually were able, in that one day, we reached 1,400 international students, and 109 students were interviewed, with over 80% of them getting yes or maybes. And then finally, the technology streamlined the process by helping the recruiters right away, downloading their list of candidates, being able to follow up, with the candidates really effectively, and having a really great follow-up email based on the data that they had set up in the system. So those are just some examples. I could go on and on, but I'll stop there. As you can see, I'm really excited to share some of the ways that we were able to use AI and technology. I just want to underline that, behind all of this, we also need to make sure that we are designing it, with a conscious-free process, and that we need to be aware of, our process end to end when we're using AI and technology. So we've been very intentional and deliberate to try to think through that process, and making sure that from a candidate experience perspective and a candidate sourcing perspective, that we're trying to remove that bias and, thinking it through an inclusive experience for candidates.
Excellent. Meetu, how about yourself? Can you discuss some examples? Because you're coming at it from a different perspective than everybody else. So how have maybe they streamlined processes, improved efficiencies, and what are some of the things maybe you're using from emergiTEL?
Thank you, Kelly, and I'm excited to be here. It was lovely talking about listening to all the amazing technologies that Sischa was talking about. You're right, Kelly, we are at the other side of the business. So for us, we are utilizing this amazing AI technology and the upcoming trends in technology and recruitment. So our team does recruit from multiple clients. So for us, our job boards are always full with job orders coming from different clients, and some of them are technical, some of them are highly technical. So one of the things that we're doing is we have, and I'll talk about the HR solution part of our job as well, because we are a staffing firm and we are an HR solution firm as well. So we do develop customized in-house solutions. So our ATS is smart. Like we have some good tools integrated with our ATS at this point. So this ATS is smart enough that they can screen the job applicants coming in. They can look at the keywords. They can see what fits, who matches, who doesn't. They are smart enough to actually send out the emails to the candidates who do not fit the job, telling them if they don't fit here, what are the other available job opportunities where they should apply and they fit. They are smart. These tools are smart to actually invite the shortlisted candidates to the online assessment piece of which is the next stage of the interview process and the first stage of the interview process. And then these tools are smart in a way that, I should talk about the bots as well, because we've invested in those bots a few years ago or now when AI and chatbot and ChatGPT wasn't even popular. So what these bots are doing for us is they are actually simplifying and automating a lot of repeated tasks that our team had to do before, which means that they can read through the job description on a client portal. They can actually replicate that job description on our in-house portal. They can actually push notifications to right job boards. They can actually screen the candidates coming in. And when a bot is doing that, my team can actually focus on the real recruitment job during that time. They do not have to send rejection emails to the candidates. They do not have to invite the screened candidates and shortlisted candidates to the interview process. So everything is taken care by these bots. We are also working on a technology which is going to streamline in real time the screening, the interviewing, and the hiring process between the job applicant and the hiring manager. But this system is still work in progress. So hopefully when we meet the next time, I should be able to talk more about it. But I have seen the time, like as a recruiter, I've spent like 18 plus years in the industry. So I've seen the time when ATS were very, very basic. And then we saw how they were integrated to CRM and how technology was advancing. Now with artificial intelligence, it is adding more fun and more efficiency to the process. And I'm excited to hear what Marc has to say about it.
Excellent. There's actually, you've just flagged a question for me, and I want to come back to that after. Marc, from your perspective, what are you seeing?
Yeah, so I'm going to take a different angle a little bit. First of all, thanks for the invite, Kelly, and nice to see you, Sischa and Meetu. So a little bit about my background really quick. I've been in the recruiting space for close to 30 years, and I've really seen the changes over the years transpire from back in the days when companies would put an ad in the newspaper and people would apply that way, and sometimes I'd get the resumes mailed, and then it turned to fax, and then email, and so on. So that's showing my age. I know a little bit, but at least to see a little bit of the background. So some of you may not be familiar with some of the terms that have already been mentioned. So I just wanted to mention what they are, because you might have heard Misha and Meetu and Sischa say some terms. So I just wanted to kind of clarify what those are, and then I'll talk about what we've done. So ATS is applicant tracking system. So it's a way that companies like staffing firms and other companies use to house the people that are applying or that have been interviewed with that company. So we have a list of over 100 ATSs, but I think probably there's 500, 1,000, maybe more different types of ATSs. So every company is different. There's many, many different types of ATSs out there. I'm not going to get into the specifics of them, but so applicant tracking systems, and that's how companies keep track. So, and certainly over the last 5 years, especially, I've seen like so much transformation in that recruiting process. Somebody had said that they mapped it out, and there's 32 different pieces to someone in getting a job from the time they apply to the time they start. And so some of the technology that has come out has streamlined certain of those processes. So for example, writing the job description, a lot of recruiters, including myself and our team, we use ChatGPT to just do up a quick job description because it's so easy. Whereas in the past, we'd have had to manually type it out and review it and go through 100 things. Now we can do it in literally seconds to get a job description. Whether it's the outreach, automated texting, for example, to send out a text message to 100 people or 500 or 1,000 people to say, hey, we have a position open, are you interested? Whereas in the past, it would have taken us phone calls and emails one at a time to do that. So these are all things that have automated. So what we have done, we've looked at with Khanduja, which is my picture here, and you know, feel free to check out the website. But we've looked at the problem between when a company gets a job and when they start interviewing candidates. That piece, to me as a recruiter, is the most frustrating part of it. And it's probably also the most frustrating part for job seekers, because from an employer perspective, a recruiter perspective, I get a job, I get a client who's looking to fill a position. Guess what? I have to go through this whole process trying to find people. I source the resumes, I screen resumes, I schedule interviews. I might not interview my first candidate for 2 days, 3 days. It might take me a while to find that right candidate. And then on the job seeker side, if you've been looking for a position, you know that when you're looking for a job, say you've been laid off, or you decide to look for something new, you need to go, or you typically go to a job board and you start searching resumes, and you get frustrated because you're looking at a lot of applications, and then you end up finding one or two that you like, or one or two jobs, I should say, that you like. And then you hit that submit button, and 90% of people never hear back from their applications or more. So after COVID hit, we looked at this exact problem from the time a company gets a job to the time they start interviewing candidates. And nobody has really touched that piece of it until we've kind of looked at that, and we created Khanduja. And it's really simple. I'll just say the overview because I don't want to take up all the time here, but very simply, for an employer, they upload the job to Khanduja. They click a button called Find Candidates, sends a message out to all the candidates that are matched for that role using AI, invites them to interview live with that employer right on the spot. So there's no applying, there's no going through resumes, there's no scheduling. It's kind of like a mix between Uber, Netflix, and dating sites. And then on the job seeker side, 3-step process. You upload your resume to Khanduja, you get pinged by text, email, and push notification for a job that matches your background based on your resume and the job description, inviting you to interview live with the employer right on the platform. And that's it. So we've taken all that 6-7 days, maybe even longer, down to like literally minutes. So that's how it's impacted our side.
Excellent. One of the things, and this kind of comes back to Meetu, you talked about keywords and screening for keywords. I'm going to skip some questions here because I know I sent you some of them, so I don't want to throw you off. But we're looking at a couple of things. What are some maybe potential challenges or limitations associated with adopting some of these recruitment technologies, and how do organizations overcome them? But on the flip side, I also wonder, how can job seekers use these technologies to their advantage? One of the biggest things I'm going through, and Marc, I laugh, you said email. I remember actually having to mail all my resumes. So that goes back a while ago there, and kind of getting in that way. But when you're applying for a job or when you're looking for candidates, a lot of times you put a list together of, hey, here's all the things we want. But then, it would be great if they could speak 5,000 languages and they could do handstands while taking calls. I'm just kind of being absurd with that. But what happens is sometimes that filters out people. So from that perspective, I see that sometimes as a bit of a challenge. So how can organizations overcome that, and how can job seekers use these technologies to their advantage? Sischa, I'll start with you.
Sure. Thank you for that question. I mean, I think that we do need to be aware of the challenges and limitations with the adoption of recruitment technology. So this is a really important question. We talked about the benefits. We're all talking about the benefits. You can see that we're pro technology. But there are challenges, sometimes with, setup or integration. But I find user adoption is something that we need to talk about, is making sure people are comfortable using technology as well. But in terms of, some of the other challenges that we need to face, I think that we need to also understand that there might be inherent biases built in to AI. We need to be aware that, we still need to train AI. We still need to make sure that there's data in there, enough candidate information, enough, job description information. But also, we need to also make sure that it can predict new matches as well. So in order for us to do that, we need to have more data. So I think where we're at right now with AI and technology is we're still in the infancy stage. So the more use and the more practice we have, the more data we have will be better. As well as we need to be very considerate of the designing of these systems to make sure that designers and builders are also diverse, that we are working with diverse populations, to make sure that we're considering blind spots. But I would just say that in terms of some of the challenges, it would be great to have open-mindedness to working together so that we can connect data sets and that we can have open conversations and user feedback to continuously make the process easier and more effective. And just being aware that, no matter what kind of a system we have, that we still need to have human judgment and human interaction. I think that partnerships, conversations, and diversity from every single stage is critical so that we can make sure that it is actually getting better and better. So those are some of my thoughts around the challenges. I think that, the use of AI and technology is a given, and the individual organizations and recruiters who know how to use technology and AI effectively will be able to attract, source, and select candidates faster and cheaper than anyone else. And then finally, using, partnerships, like through, as I mentioned, Kibi and Devant, making sure you are intentionally targeting and opening up your opportunities to communities who are diverse or rural or who may not be traditional talent pools. This will allow organizations to have more innovation in their companies. So, although there are challenges that I mentioned, I still think that overall, using AI and using technology is a given. It's just a matter of how we use it and, how we integrate it into our systems with a thoughtful approach.
Okay, thanks. Marc, I'm actually going to go to you next, and then Meetu, I'll come back to you. So I would like, Marc, if you can even talk from both perspectives, but from the job seekers side of things, because you have this great technology that you can upload your resume and everything, and people can get notified within instance. And, it's that dating platform. How can job seekers use that to their advantage?
Yeah, the great question, and I'm gonna just step back for just one sec because there's a years ago, and I think a lot of people still feel that way, that you had to hit in your resume, you had to hit the keywords that were in a job description, that you threw in all the different keywords, and you were hoping that a recruiter would pick that up. So I 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, I would give advice to people to say, hey, if you're in a company that services elevators, as an example, make sure that the word elevator is in your resume, because I would search on the word elevator to see candidates that have that skill, for example. Or if you're an accountant or CPA or whatever it is, have that in your resume so it gets caught. Now, there are recruiters that still use that, what I call older school approach, where you want to hit those keywords because they're still searching databases that way. In the new way with Khanduja, we're using AI. So it's not, you're not trying to hit those specific keywords. The AI that we're using is looking at the whole resume. It's looking, can the person do this job, and what's the match score that's evaluated within milliseconds as to whether you're a good match for that role or not. Now, we don't want you to adapt your resume to what you think the job description is. In fact, Khanduja is not a job board. It's not something where you go and you look at the different jobs. Khanduja will notify you when there's a job that matches what it is that you're looking for. So you won't know. Could be a company that's looking for something that you're a great fit for. Don't try to figure that out, because you're not going to, because you're not going to know what the jobs are that are going to be pinged for. So I would say, from a job seeker's perspective, just really hit the have a good resume, 2 pages, all that kind of good stuff, and margins, no spelling mistakes and all that, because you will get points off for spelling mistakes, and that will downgrade your score. So just make sure you have that kind of stuff, but kind of be yourself. Like have your information, have your LinkedIn profile, use ChatGPT to help you with some of the wording and everything else, and just be prepared on Khanduja to be pinged at any time. And one final comment on that is that one thing that we've learned is that it's amazing how candidates are offended when they get jobs that are sent that are below where they're at right now, but they have no problem when they're sent a job that's above them. So if they're a manager, they have no problem getting sent director roles, but if they're a manager getting sent a supervisor role, it's highly offensive for some reason. So my take on it is if our system has matched you, like do the interview, talk to the person, because maybe they might change that supervisor role to a manager position. You never know. You've been matched for it with our system. Talk to the employer, get connected.
No, that's great advice, especially as I've gone through and I'm going through this with my kids. I see a lot of that. And I think that's really important. That's important advice. And you also actually made a really good point there too. I liked how you talked about setting scores for the resumes coming through, because you might meet everything. My strong belief is if you could do everything on a job resume, you're not the right, or a job posting, you're not the right person, because then you're not necessarily going to be challenged. So it leave room for being able to do that. So I do like that scoring system. Meetu, you're trying to place people, you're trying to help, employers find people, but you're doing both here. So, what are some of the potential challenges or limitations that you're seeing with the technology? And then how can job seekers and employers use all of these to their advantage?
Sure, Kelly. So when we hear the word recruitment, it sounds like a very positive experience that you're a job seeker, you want to apply to a job, an HR recruiter will talk to you, they will make you meet the hiring manager, and you will get the job. But that's not how it is in practice. Like you have to go through an endless application process system, and then you apply to hundreds of jobs, you don't hear back, you get frustrated. You hear back from maybe 5 of the recruiters, you speak to them, you go for the interviews, and then again, you're not even hired for all of those jobs. You don't get the offer, or you have to wait a long time to get those offers. Where I see the technology and the AI actually helping is the pieces where, as a job seeker, if I apply to a job, there's a system that is actually keeping me posted on the progress. There's a system which is telling me, are you shortlisted or not? If you're not shortlisted, where do you actually are, what are the other jobs in the system that you meet the criteria for? If you're shortlisted, this is going to be the next step. This is the actual wait time for you. At least I'm being informed, because I know recruiters are always blamed for this. It is always spoken about on LinkedIn and anywhere you go there, like recruiters do not take responsibility of keeping their candidates posted. But when you come to our side of the business, you will see that they have so many jobs, they have so many applicants that it is humanly not possible to do that. But technology can do that. Challenges, another challenge that I see is, like, we're talking about AI, we're talking about technology, but all of this is data fed. And when we say job seekers, we're talking about personal information that is being fed into multiple systems. So that is a data privacy issue that I see, right, which might come up, if not today, then eventually later in the time. Another challenge is, like, when I am a job seeker or I'm a hiring manager, I cannot just depend on systems. There's a human element of the hiring process or a recruitment process that is very, very important. Like if I need to talk to someone to tell them that there is more to my resume than the keywords that you're looking at, I have some transferable skills. I have passion for what I want to do. Like I'm committed to my career growth. So that human piece is very important. And similarly, for the hiring manager's perspective, if I'm meeting candidates and I'm not able to hire the right fit, I cannot just depend on technology. I need to talk to someone who I can explain what my team is like, what my hiring, what my culture is like, who is going to be the best person to fit my team, my culture, my job. So if everything is technology driven, I think if we're going to be at a point where this piece of recruitment process is potentially eliminated, in my opinion, how I see it, it is going to do more harm than good. It's not going to be benefiting. We will not be able to talk about the candidate experience or project ourselves to attract the best talent out there in the industry if we are totally technology driven. So there has to be a good balance between technology, which is definitely helping as much as I see it, but not really replacing the human piece of the job.
Yeah. And the human side is very important of it. And I think that's where a lot of people lose sight with any of the AI is they're afraid, okay, you're going to lose your job. But as long as you're keeping up with that, it's about improving the efficiencies and making things a little smoother. Sischa, were you going to add something?
Yes, I just wanted to add if there's, for example, if there's anyone on the call who are job seekers, you asked, Marc and Meetu, you had some really great points around how job seekers can use AI and technology to their advantage. I want to just add one tip here, if I may. One of the areas that I find are really challenging for job seekers is identifying their story during the interview process and having a compelling story that showcases them in the best light related to the job that they're being interviewed for. And I see a huge opportunity here. We have some tools at Devant through our AI mock interview tool where the candidate actually does their interview and we provide feedback through AI on the interview. So it gives them feedback on everything from, the video interview. And as I said, through the Get Hired at Home, we invested in a new tool, which actually gives them feedback on their answers. So I think for job seekers, one of the things that you can do is actually leverage these free AI tools as a coach, helping you to provide feedback on your answers, your stories, so that this way you can structure your answer better. You can structure not just what you say, but how you say it. Because we know that most of what we say is through body language. It's what you say in the content, but also how you deliver the message. So I would encourage job seekers to leverage, AI and tools that help you get feedback. So you can try out your answers, you can practice, you can get more comfortable, more confident, so that you can get the right information to the recruiters to help you sell yourself for that position. So I see AI and technology as an assistant to helping with storytelling and with structuring your answers. In addition, I think that there are many other tools we can talk about, but I think that using AI, as Marc mentioned, as well, maybe just opening up the candidates' minds into maybe job titles or jobs or companies that maybe they didn't think about. We have so many amazing small to medium-sized companies that are hiring fantastic jobs, and maybe those job seekers may not have thought about that company. Maybe they didn't understand the job title. Maybe when they were reading the job posting, there were words in there that they didn't understand. So leveraging tools, like Kibi that has multilingual translation services, it actually not only helps you write the job, but it also translates the job to help job seekers understand what that job really means in their first language. But also, if you are matched for a job or you get an interview, invitation, I would, consider new opportunities or new career paths that you haven't yet considered, because there are different titles that mean different things in different organizations. So I would say leveraging AI, leveraging the matching tools, and just having an open mind to consider companies or roles maybe that you haven't thought of yet. And not just looking at the job in terms of the skills and knowledge, but learning about the companies, learning about their culture and their values. So, I think that job seekers can leverage the AI matching tools, not just for the interview process, but just for them to understand and learn about new companies, new roles, new industries, so they have more of a chance. When I'm speaking to job seekers, most job seekers are applying to over 100 jobs. And, that doesn't mean that you're increasing your chances, right? You want to have a meaningful match and a meaningful connection with the knowledge, the skills, but also the values and the company. So I would just say there's lots of opportunities for job seekers to leverage technology to their advantage.
You made an interesting point, because yes, you're applying to a lot of jobs, and my daughter was just speaking with somebody just before this call, and it was the lady had suggested, here's a whole whack of other titles to look for that you wouldn't have thought of, but they're the same role. So Marc, I think some of your tools really help pair that together, because they're not necessarily looking at a title, you're looking at qualifications. And then at the same time, employers are looking at hundreds of applications, if not thousands of them, and they need a way to weed this out. So that's kind of what happens there. Marc, I'm going to direct this question to you, and then I think Meetu, I think you can add a little bit to it. But how can companies leverage kind of data analytics and predictive modeling to make more informed hiring decisions and maybe forecast future talent needs, get the right people in the door?
Well, I think they need to look at what's worked before. What are the characteristics of the people that worked before that that were successful in that role, and these are the characteristics of somebody who's successful, whether it's a sales role or accounting or whatever it is. I recall this is years ago, back before really data analytics was more mainstream, but one of my clients on the recruiting side gave everybody a test, like a test that was scored even before they met them, even before they even saw the resume. They would give them this test, and if the person wasn't within the range that they had from before, they wouldn't even interview them. And I thought that was a little bit too short-sighted, because sometimes people have transferable skills. Sometimes they're able to move from one type of company to another. I generally find it's harder sometimes for people to move from a very large company to a very small company, or vice versa. But this company in particular just said, you know what? No, if they're not in the range that we want, we don't even want to talk to them. We don't want to see them. I think in today's world, there's lots of online tests. There's lots of assessments that can be done. There's lots of testing that can be done of existing employees, especially for larger companies that might have the tools available at their disposal. But even small companies have these kind of things. The internet has evened out the game for many companies and many industries. So I think you use it, but I think you use it cautiously, as opposed to my first story client that I talked to you about, where it's a be all and end all. If you don't fit within the ranges, you don't get even an interview. So guidelines.
Yeah, and that's a difficult thing. Sometimes too, there's two sides of it. Is when you look through, and sometimes people think, oh, okay, they're overqualified. They're not going to be a good match. And I have a great story, because my son ended up in a position that they thought, maybe you're a little bit overqualified, but we'll give you a start. Well, he helped them build the startup into what it is now, and has really grown it. So sometimes it's taking that chance. And a good friend of my daughter's has been interviewing for kind of a dream role, and they keep saying, you could be too overqualified. They're worried he's just going to leave, and he's so excited about this job. So that I think there's two different side of this as well, that it's also taking that chance that sometimes you'll have somebody that is going to excel, as you say, and look at some of these things. Meetu, from your perspective, are there things that you would say that companies can use to leverage the data analytics or model things?
Sure, Kelly. In our side of business, actually, it makes a lot of sense that we have smart tools that can actually do a good analysis of the data. So in terms of candidate demographics, which background they're coming from, what have they been, their skills, what was the application to hire time, what was the cost efficiency. So when we have this data put together, we are able to actually see the trend of what's working better for certain clients and might not work the same way for the others. And then we talk about talent pipelines all the time. We talk about market trends all the time. This is a very important piece for our recruitment team and our business development team. And all these good data tools are actually put these pieces together. So when our business development people go out in the market, they're talking to the clients, they can actually talk on the real data. They can really tell them the market trends at this point. We are not projecting the hiring for our clients, but we are supporting them in actually building their talent pipelines. We're supporting them in actually with the market trends to actually analyze or actually sort of project their hiring for this year and coming years. What are going to be the skill set in demand? What are going to be the skill set that will not be in demand? What is advancing? What is not? So for us, these data tools make a lot of sense.
Okay, no, and there's some great points there, and you actually kind of lead me into a little bit of the last question. I'm going to open the floor up here. So looking ahead, or actually, Sischa, I want to ask if you had anything. I know you said that was not one that you had wanted to answer, but so I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I didn't know if you had something you wanted to answer. I apologize.
Oh, no, that's okay. I would just say I think Marc and Meetu covered it really well. I would just say from my perspective, I wanted to make sure that we address, candidates maybe who are not traditional, maybe don't have a lot of experience. You also already addressed it with those who are overqualified, because sometimes when we look at hiring based on past success profiles, we don't leave room for creativity or potential, which is really difficult to hire for sometimes. So, I would just encourage us, if we are using data and analytics to look for patterns, that we also consider maybe if we don't have those kinds of candidates in our pipeline. So individuals who are newcomers to Canada, individuals who are career switchers, individuals who maybe are young, and don't have that experience yet. When we look at data and analytics, sometimes we're not able to capture that. So I think that looking at deep learning, and hopefully AI will get better so that we can actually have it project and see people's potential. That's what I would like to see in the future. But I just wanted to mention that. But I think Marc and Meetu did really well in addressing some of these points.
That was actually a very exciting point, Sischa.
There you go. See, you got that. Okay, I want to ask then, looking ahead, what trends do you foresee shaping the future of recruitment, and how can businesses prepare to stay competitive in this evolving landscape? Meetu, I'm going to start with you.
Thanks, Kelly, again. So I see a lot of businesses, small size to medium size, and of course, bigger clients are doing it already. I see them making an investment in technology when it comes to their recruitment process. I see them making investment in technology when it comes to their career pages. So they are switching to the traditional way of using technology to the advanced way of using technologies at this point. A very important piece that came up in conversation with someone very recently was the onboarding piece, which is a very amazing experience when you go to the bigger brands. But when you talk about small size to medium sized companies, this is something that they always struggle with. They're always having the challenge of giving the best experience to their new hires. AI, in my opinion, is going to and can, in a very amazing way and advanced, they can actually streamline that process for these size of companies, where they can implement some innovative ways and some introduce some intelligent ways of actually making their onboarding process a very pleasing experience for their new hires. And then what I see is, in terms of D&I, there's a lot of things that AI can solve, like by actually anonymizing the resumes and the stuff that shouldn't show, is going to actually help all those D&I leaders who are actually doing great already. I see AI supporting them in even better ways there.
The onboarding piece is quite key, Meetu, and I think that is one that helps employers keep people longer, because if you don't have that good experience, then you don't feel part of it. And with how we are working today with the hybrid workforce, I believe that's more and more important than ever before, because you have to find a way to get people involved and know their team and know their routines and the rituals and everything, the culture. There's so much around that. So I think that's a wonderful point there. Sischa, yourself, what are some of the trends that you're seeing?
So I think it's really exciting what's coming up and dynamic, and I'm really curious to see how we can evolve and improve the candidate experience, as well as expand and open more doors for candidate sourcing with all different types of talent pools. I'm actually seeing future opportunities with virtual reality job simulations. So for individuals, as I said, we need to retrain and reskill our workforce. We know that we're facing a huge lack of labor, for example, in the construction and housing and trades. So I think that in the future, we're going to be looking at different and creative ways. Meetu, I agree in terms of like onboarding and orientation. There's some great opportunities here. So I think that that's definitely coming. And I mentioned it a little bit before, but the more data we have, the more candidates, the more employers that we have, we will be able to get smarter in terms of job predictions to identify sort of those non-traditional profiles so that it can help us open our minds to consider interviewing and hiring candidates that may not be the same types of candidates that we've hired before. We have to, especially with the lack of talent that we're facing right now, we need to change the way we've been traditionally hiring and selecting candidates to be more open. So I see more investment in candidate matching, which includes predictive new ideas of identifying maybe candidate profiles that are novel or different than what we've traditionally hired, especially because we need everyone to be at the table. And we need to identify people not just beyond their current knowledge and skills, but we need to identify individual based on their potential, based on, maybe their organizational fit around their motivations, their ability to learn. Learning to learn to me is a very big one. I've seen that on thousands of job postings. So I think that we're going to be able to be more creative the more data that we have. And just rapid candidate discovery. I think that, recruiters right now need to fill jobs quickly, especially just going back to our housing crunch right now. When we have contracts that are secured, you need to build up a team quickly, do the project and move on. So, we need to get better. We need to get faster and identifying teams anywhere across Canada. So I think that we're going to see new technologies around quick candidate discovery, better efficiencies around that. I think that's a given. And then finally, I think in terms of helping companies stay competitive, that's easy. Partner with digital companies and organizations, that are mission driven, that are learning to learn, and that we learn together as partners, so that this way we can really help our employers and our job seekers just get matched quickly as possible. So I think staying competitive means having an open mind to using technology and supporting your recruitment function, and giving them the resources they need to, to hire those individuals in the best fit roles, both for those that are highly skilled and also for those that are transitioning into new careers.
Excellent points there. And Marc, what are you seeing? So what are some of the things that you're going to see shaping the future?
Yeah, that was just a great point, Sischa, about having an open mind, and I wrote down being curious, right? Being curious, pushing buttons. What does this do? What does that do? And I find that generally speaking, because we deal with Americans and Canadians, generally speaking, Canadians are more cautious, more careful, more, hey, I don't know, is anybody else doing this? And whereas Americans are a little bit more on the forefront about being early adopters on technology and trying new things. It's a generality, I know, but it seems there's much more cautiousness, legal agreements, and do I get my boss's approval, and so on and so forth. Where, one time I was talking to a restaurant, and I said, try Khanduja. And she said, well, I got to check with my boss. I said, I'll do it for free. Like, just use it. Just check it out. I was like, no, I better get approval. And it's like, I don't understand that kind of mindset. So just, be curious. There's technology that's available now for all sizes of businesses. You don't have to be a big business. There's some technology, because I went to a conference in Dallas in September, and some of the technology there was for by far large companies, 1,000, 2,000, 100, 10,000 employees. But a lot of technology also is available for smaller businesses to use and to try out. So, I would suggest trying that out. Some of the fixes with technology for companies that are hiring have always slanted towards the making the employer experience better. And that translated to make the job seeker experience worse by having to fill out more forms, having to do more steps, having to fill out this survey or whatever it is. Whereas as a recruiter, we know that it's harder to find labor than it ever used to. And so we have to make it easier for job seekers to apply, for it to be connected, to use technology. The old methods of applying that I grew up with, and people my age, my generation grew up with, are not acceptable really to younger the next generation of job seekers. They want it on their phone. They want immediacy. They don't want to go through a lot of lengthy processes. So when we built Khanduja, we looked at both the job seeker and the employer side to make things as easy as possible, as simple as possible. And I guess just one last point has to do with budgets. Companies have limited budgets, but they also generally don't value their time as much as they could. How much is it worth to save an hour, 2 hours a day, whatever it is? So employers should be looking at their budgets and saying, if we use this and it saves an hour a day or one person a week or whatever it is, what's that worth to you? People's mindsets are generally, well, I don't want to pay more. I'll pay more in labor, but I won't pay more for something that will save me labor, if that makes sense. So it's an interesting way of looking at it, but it's funny, right? It's the Canadian way, I think. US Americans look at it differently.
I want to address a question here, and Sischa, you kind of responded in there, and Jennifer put in, does inclusive include older workers? I think what we're starting to see is people working longer and kind of, or I'm not saying older because I don't feel like I'm getting old now, but it's that they're working longer than they were before. Sometimes you're in those positions, whether you've just sold a company and you're older, you still want to work, keep yourself busy. So how do you address that? Does inclusive include older workers? Meetu, can I throw this to you? And then Sischa, I'm going to come to you.
Okay, I will say in my practical experience, there was a time when someone with a lot of experience wasn't really looked upon or appreciated to be included back into the workforce, was because we didn't have many people. And you're right, because now people work longer. There was a time when people used to just retire after 60s. So it was not very obvious and frequent. And you would not see a lot of people past that age working in your team. So for you as a hiring manager to make a decision that, okay, I want to bring someone on board, wasn't making a lot of sense, because you were like, are other teams going to judge me? Is it going to fit my team culture? Is it not? But now we see that people work longer. Like I do have my uncles in US who are 75 and they're doing consulting assignments right now. I don't feel that it's going to be a problem now or longer, because now we see we are working with them. Like it is part of the work culture right now, and it is becoming if inclusive in that way is what I have observed.
Okay. Sischa, how about yourself?
Jennifer, thank you so much for raising this in the chat. It is a reality that we are facing. I think we have more generations in the workforce than ever. I think we're up to 4 different generations on a team right now. And, in speaking with candidates, I've actually recently spoke to a candidate, who was over 55 and, worried about, changing roles and worried about her chances to get another position because of her age. So this is a fear from job seekers. Officially, we have the 4 designated groups, that we all know already, but I think that maybe it's time that we do some more awareness around this, because I do see that it could be an impact on job seekers who are more mature or have more experience, who want to do a career switching. And the way that this is being solved is through freelance work, consulting work, the gig workers. So it's already being addressed, as Meetu you mentioned there. I think it's already sort of solving itself a little bit, but in terms of recruiters' perceptions, or, in terms of recruiters' decisions and bringing individuals on board, again, I think having an open mind, asking those direct questions to candidates, all candidates, regardless of their age, about how motivated are you for this position, why are you interested in this role, and just listening to what the candidate has to say, regardless if, they're more senior and they have more experience. There might be life circumstances where they want a lower level role, or they want a career switch. So I think that if we build that into our process, and educate, we educate ourselves in terms of what kind of questions can we ask to make sure that we are creating an inclusive experience, and that we're asking those candidates those questions to give them a chance to demonstrate their interest and enthusiasm for the role, and hear what they have to say. When you've asked them the question, we should be objectively analyzing their information to give them that chance. But I do think that it it does require some thought, because I am seeing it happening on both sides. I am seeing candidates who are afraid that they may not have another opportunity after they've turned 50 or 55. And then also, talking to recruiters and just worried, is this person going to stay in the role? So even though people are working longer, I think we can maybe address this by blind resumes, asking people open questions, and just considering, the answer openly with an open mind, to let them demonstrate too that they're really interested in the role. So again, it comes down to an openness in our mind and our process.
Okay.
I have just one additional point. I'm so sorry, Kelly, because this
Yeah,
is
go
an
ahead.
important piece to add here. Because as a recruiter, we do get resumes from people who are little hesitant. It's like, would I be considered because I've come with 25 years of experience and your job posting said 12 years? We as recruiters, and my team is trained to do that as well, like we are not hesitant to present those candidates. If they qualify the job, I think they're bringing a lot of experience with them. They're training, they're already trained on a lot of things. Like they don't need that training time to spend on any new job, even if it is a consulting assignment. So when we take those resumes to our clients, I have seen that clients are open as well. We have never been cautioned back as like, oh, this person doesn't seem to fit my culture, or this person seems to have a lot of experience that might not fit my team. I see the clients being open, interviewing, and actually hiring candidates. So the openness is already there, which I think is an important piece. We should see this coming more in the future years, but that reservation and hesitation should go.
Okay. I'm actually going to combine the other two questions that have come in here. So Fabio had put, with many layoffs in the tech space, like you're looking at a lot happening, how can AI tools help candidates be noticed? But on the flip side, if everybody's using those tools and many resumes and candidates all start to look the same, and I know there's a lot of scanning through, did you put this through ChatGPT, et cetera, and so forth. How do we differentiate that? And then from Yvette here too, it's kind of providing an example of what an ideal candidate's experience should be like during the recruitment process. I know they're two separate, but I'm wondering how maybe that can be combined. Marc, do you want to tackle kind of how to use some of these tools that they can be noticed? And then maybe what you should be looking for.
That's a hard one. I left a lot hard one till the end, but yeah, I mean, it does seem to standardize it. But I think, people have said, well, even somebody yesterday said, was something like, who said, why are we gonna have recruiters anymore? Because everybody can just do it on their own. And there's always like a subtlety. There's always it's not a bullseye. We're humans, right? We have strengths, we have weaknesses, we have attributes that might not be exactly similar on a resume. So I think there's still the interview process that has to take place in order to assess whether somebody can do the job, they can fit into the culture of a company, and so on. But Fabio's question is great, because if you put in, like, sometimes I reverse engineer a resume and say, was this through AI? Was this thrown into ChatGPT and say, does this come from a ChatGPT? Was this computer automated? Sometimes you get the right answer, not the right answer. And then sometimes I get resumes that are obviously copied and pasted from a ChatGPT, because when you copy and paste it, it'll create some boxes around it, and it's blatantly obvious that it was copied and pasted. So I think I just say one note here. Sischa's answer here is great. Is always adding your own tone and flavor and edit what comes out of the AI tool. Personalize it a little bit, but AI is evolving too. There's no doubt that it's not perfect. It's getting better and better and better every day. But like I said with Khanduja, like, you just put yourself out, like, say what you do. You want to be pinged. You want to be honest about what your experience is, and just add your personalization to it. Right, Sischa?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, just one thing to add, I mean, this is a really great question. I would also say, you know, it's a really great opportunity for candidates to use AI to tell your story in different formats. So you have a chance to practice, to record it over and over and over again. You have a chance to use it to give you new ideas. And, you know, so think of it, as I said, you know, as your coach, you know, as your partner in your recruitment journey. So use it to your advantage. I don't think that this should be used in isolation. You always need to bring yourself, your own thoughts. Don't be afraid to be your authentic self, you know, because you also want to be connected with an employer and find a role that matches your interests, your strengths, where you can be your best self. So it's fun. Use AI, use the technology, use it to help you tell your story in different formats, audio, video, written, in a different language. I saw an AI tool where you do a video and it actually translates into different languages. Like, I wish I could speak Italian, Kelly. I know my mom never taught me fully Italian, you know, or Hindi, you know. So, you know, you can have some fun, show your personality. Don't be afraid to be yourself, you know, and obviously within, you know, the context of a professional organization. But I would leverage AI and leverage technology to be able to tell your story in a different way and to be creative. Remember, there's no one else like you. And technology is a tool. It's not going to replace you, but it's going to be a tool that's going to help you tell your story better, and to make sure that you can also do your research too. So I think there's lots of potential here for candidates to use AI and technology to their advantage.
Thanks. And I know we're at 1 o'clock, but Meetu, I wanted to see if you can address Yvette's question on providing an example of what an ideal candidate's experience should look like or should be like during a recruitment process. Is there an answer for that?
I actually see a lot of resumes these days that are made through ChatGPT. They all look the same, read the same. But one important thing here to remember is, with the current state of tools and technology, these tools can help you put your application through, can help you with the keywords. And Sischa, you have a very great point there, because those video tools are actually helping candidates a lot. You can record yourself, you can see how you look, and you have recommendations of what you should improve given the job description. So they can tell you these are the important elements of the job description that you should talk about in your introduction. And they help you prepare better. But can you eliminate the piece of networking? No, you will still have to network, because you still have to talk to a recruiter or an HR person who is the person who's going to take you to the hiring decision maker. So AI is great. Utilize it, use it for your resume building. There's no harm in doing it. Yes, we can, as a recruiter, see that this resume was not a personalized resume, was made through a tool. But your personal story, your skills, you'll have to sell yourself when you get to the first stage of interview, and you have to keep doing that at least until the last stage of your interview. So 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So your preparation is equally important. Just an AI-driven technology, the system is not going to get you the job.
Okay, so a lot of it, all of you have resonated. This is be yourself. You know, whatever you're using, whatever tools you're using, whatever experience you have, let you shine through. And I think that's the most important. It is difficult when you're trying to put this together. It definitely is difficult. Marc, I know we were going to try to get your tool and show that. So I don't know if anybody wanted to stay on, but please, what I'm going to do is I will send out Sischa, Marc, and Meetu's information. If you're on both sides looking for a job, or whether you're looking to hire, feel free to reach out to them. They have a wealth of knowledge. So thank you to the 3 of you for taking the time, sharing your insights, sharing your information. I will definitely send that out, and we're going to send out a link to Khanduja. Sisha's going to send me some information as well for you to share, right? You can try all of these things and get a sense to help you along in the process here. Marc, were you gonna?
Well, I was just going to suggest that if anybody wanted to stay, maybe for those that do, I can show a quick demo. It's like less than 5 minutes, and then if people want to drop off, because I know it's already past 1 o'clock here. So
okay, perfect. You know what? I'm going to give you access. So if you would, okay, hold on a second. It's not cooperating with me right now. But thank you to everybody. But Marc, I'm just going to find you here, and then I will give you access to actually be able to show it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay, you should have that. But thank you. Yeah, thanks to everybody for doing this. So while Marc gets this set up,
Yeah.
I will send out in the information. I'll send out the recording as well too, so that everybody has that.
Sounds great. Well, thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Sischa, and Meetu also, and thanks everybody for being on. Everybody can see my screen, okay?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, so it's a pretty short. It's only 3 minutes, so it'll be less than 5 minutes in total. So on the left-hand side is what the recruiter sees, and then on the right-hand side is what the candidate sees. Okay, so say I'm the recruiter. So we're going to show both sides of this, of what the Khanduja platform is. So I would log into my account. And I have my different tiles here as I would with any other platform. So I'm going to go into my jobs and interviews. So this part of it looks like has the look and feel of a job board, but this is about the extent of where Khanduja is. So I'm going to add a new position. And from here, I can upload the job, and I can copy and paste, or I can upload the job, and then I can copy and paste it as well into the platform. So if you're a job seeker and you're looking for a job, I'm going to get to you soon. So on here, I can, again, upload the job. I can click and drag and drop the job description. So back to my list here. So I'm going to show, this customer service specialist position is going to be the example in this demo. So I go into what we call the lobby area. And so far, nothing is really earth-shattering here. So when I push this button, Find Candidates, that's when the AI and our system really kicks into play. And we used Uber, Netflix, and dating sites to create the frameworks for this. So when I push this Find Candidates button, the Khanduja system, within milliseconds, identifies the top candidates that are matches for my particular customer service specialist position. So and then identifies them, ranks them within milliseconds. I call this the Shazam effect, because what happens is the job seeker now, if you're the job seeker, you've uploaded your resume, the job seeker gets a ping on their phone saying, hey, you've been identified for a great customer service specialist position, click here to interview live. And the candidate can now, who's been matched, can have a look at the job description to see if this is a job that they're interested in. And if it is, they can join the waiting room. Okay, so as soon as they join the waiting room, now on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, I should say, as the recruiter, I see that this candidate has jumped into the waiting room. So I'm excited because I have a potential match of somebody who's not only been identified by the system, but is also interested in the position and available for an interview. So they've gone through 3 hurdles by the time they get here. So I can click on the candidate's profile. I can have a look at their background. This is all just demo data, just so you know. I can start the interview from here, but before that, I might want to have a look at the resume to make sure that the systems match properly. The candidate is a good match for my role. This is all while the candidate's waiting for the interview to start. And then if they are appropriate for the role, I can start the interview. So once I start the interview, once I click that button on the right-hand side, the candidate who has been matched, their device rings, whether it's their computer or their phone, and lets them know that the interview is starting. So now on the left-hand side, I'm checking my audio and video and my settings. On the right-hand side, the candidate, the job seeker that was matched, is doing the same. And then you can probably guess the rest, that the 2 are matched right on the platform. And just a couple more things on here, that the interview can be recorded by the employer. And then tests and background checks can also be done. And as more candidates come in, you can see that the recruiter can now start interviewing back-to-back candidates. And that's really it. A quick demo of Khanduja.
No, that's really interesting, Marc. It's an interesting way of doing that. A quick question there is, if I get notified, but I'm in the middle of something, can you delay it?
That's probably the number one question that people get.
I figured it was, so I figured you had an answer about that.
So we find on average that people will stay on for about an hour. For employers will stay on for about an hour before they will exit. So, you know, you're just coming out of the shower, or you're dripping wet, and you get a ping for a phone, and you're not ready, your hair's not done, your makeup or whatever it is. And so, you know, get yourself ready, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it takes. And I know some people might take longer, I get it. But go in when you can, because what'll happen if the employer is not there for the interview right on the spot, or sorry, if the employer has left, they will get a message that you are interested and they may reach out to you afterwards.
Okay, so there, that answers even Josiah had a question here. So you have to be available or always to be eligible to join the live chat, or is there a posted time in which positions hire? So that answers that, is that you can't do it right then and there. You're boarding an airplane or whatever. So there's a time that you can do it. Oh, okay. Very interesting. Yeah, I will share the information regarding that, and Sischa and Meetu had some information as well, or their contact. So by all means, I will share that out. Thank you to everybody for joining. Before I go, I just want to make sure that there were no other questions. I don't want to leave somebody there wishing that they had asked something. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And best of luck on everybody's side, whether you're looking for a job or whether you're looking for people, or you're helping people find jobs. There's a lot going on here. So thank you very much for taking the time. Thank you very much for joining us today. And we wish everybody a wonderful day. Take care.
Thank you,
Everybody.
Kelly.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Take care.